Y'all let me know though, what would you guys pick though? We going BMW or going Lexus, man? What y'all think in the comments? All right, back for video 3. Should you buy an ISF in 2026? That's the question we finna answer today on the channel. I read every single comment. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you guys. If you got soft hands like this dude right here, probably not gonna be the car for you. It's gonna be a bad idea. So let's get into the video. Thank you for all the comments. I read everything. Like, subscribe, and let's get into this drive, shall we? All right, so let's get into section 1, right? We're gonna go over pretty much risk and maintenance. This is gonna be one of the 3 or 4 most important things a part of this entire video, pretty much indicating if you should or should not buy an ISF. So let's get into it, right? I like to say that there's 3 different tiers as far as looking for an ISF, because again, different kind of mileage and premiums that you could pay to kind of get this Lexus. I just really want you to consider this, all right? If you're gonna spend under $20,000, you're probably gonna be over 150 or 160,000 miles, all right? Lower entry point, but the maintenance and risk significantly goes up, all right? Because the last thing that you want to risk is catastrophic engine failure. I bought this in Texas. You already know from the last video. I paid $200 for a mechanic to go over there before I even flew to check the car. But for all I know, this dude probably just looked at it visually for 5 minutes and just said, all right, good to go, good to go. Called me, Brandon, car is good, come by it. That's how he sounded. So lo and behold, I got back, had to fix the valley plate, right? So clearly he didn't really do anything too in depth. But regardless, if you're gonna stick to tier 1, which is pretty much the lowest entry point, you're gonna wanna have some money in the bank just in case anything goes wrong, or at least some money to spend to check the damn car. Tier number 2 is gonna be that 25 to 26K mark, right? You're gonna be at around 110, 120,000 miles. I saw there's like 14 ISFs that are even listed publicly nationwide. I do see the values going up. So back to what I was saying before, at that 24, 26,000 mark, 110, 120 miles, 1,000 miles, I feel like that is the best point to car hack this, because again, there's no major service coming up between that interval. So if you buy it at 100, or let's just say 110, sell it at 140, 150, you know, that's gonna be pretty much right before you hit the valley plate. Obviously, if you're real, I would say at least let the person know, hey man, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you're paying this, but I didn't do the valley plate, so you're gonna have to do it. It's $2 grand. That's all you gotta do, bro. Tier number 3 is gonna be more for somebody that has a bigger bankroll, right? You're gonna get into like the collectible ISFs that are out there. But regardless, I want you to keep this in mind. If you're gonna spend 30,000 or more, you're gonna be looking at an ISF 2010 or newer, pretty much, right? Because it falls into the same bracket. That's gonna retain its value best, but I don't really know if you would wanna, you know, daily drive that car, because at the end of the day, I do feel that these cars are appreciating right now. I think I heard some news about EVs coming out now from the Lexus lineup. So obviously, if they stop the V8s, this is gonna just appreciate. I don't know if you would want to daily drive it, maybe just hold on to that. But again, it's not my business. You can do whatever you want with the car. This is just me trying to organize how you should be looking at this from a buyer perspective. And then you let me know yes or no if this car is for you, all right? And by the way, to put a new engine in this car, let's just say the valley plate is cooked and you let this thing overheat, you're gonna be looking at $10,000 or more. Now into section 2, this is really realistic. You're probably gonna have to travel to buy this car. So if you're not in a position, or let's just say you're younger and you don't have a big bankroll saved up where you can kind of pack up and go and travel or whatnot, to go find this car, as well as take that risk. Don't know if you're gonna want this one, but again, to get a good deal, you're probably gonna have to take flight to another state, depending on where you live initially. Because if you're okay with flying out, then you're gonna have to budget another couple $100 or whatnot to actually go over there, check the car. And let's just say that dude ended up being a dick, lied, you wasted your whole time there. So that's why you really gotta know what you're doing, buy it right, buy it smart, and do your due diligence before even, you know, getting too excited. Because if you look at this car, or if you get, you know, behind the wheel, you know, and you never drove this before, it is very easy to get emotional, get excited, and just give somebody your money. I would recommend don't even going over there without having your mind screwed on straight, or at least a homie that's a mechanic to check that car for you, right? So that's pretty much one thing. If you're not, you know, with the tolerance to fly out and actually buy a car, and you've never done this before, then probably not gonna be for you. If you are, if you're already familiar, if you own a bunch of cars like me, I've had like maybe 13 cars. This is car 14 at this point. Then, you know, you have a little bit more competence, a little bit more, you know, patience, and ability to take your time, call that seller and really feel them out and see, all right, cool, is this person really gonna do me dirty, or is it worth my time? Another thing, the smartest way to buy this car nowadays is to make sure you at least give yourself the ability to car hack it if need be. That's just how I look at things. I'm a realtor, so obviously I'm a little bit more analytical, and I'm looking at this like I'm just selling a house, you know what I'm saying? I'm not looking at this as like a super emotional attachment. I love this thing, and I do have that attachment, but I'm pretty good at, you know, separating that, or rather disassociating myself from a goddamn car, to be real with you. So anyways, last thing I really just want to mention is that, again, you really have to be mechanically savvy, because this car is a lot more affordable if you're doing a majority of the maintenance or repairs yourself, because trust and believe, they're really not that difficult. And there's a bunch of videos on YouTube that I literally just watched, and then I was like, oh cool, I could work on the car now, you know? I'm not really tripping too much. But if you're not one of those people, you got them soft hands like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, which it was a joke, but I really kind of do mean it. It's going to be a little bit harder for you to afford this, especially if you're on a specific budget, because at the end of the day, yes, it is a super reliable car, but you're bugging if you think that the people you're gonna buy this car from are not driving it hard. If you're looking at an ISF and you're like, you know, well, I want one that somebody treated well, I want one that nobody beat on it with, pause, you're out of your goddamn mind, bro. This is why people buy these cars, bro. Like, they buy these cars to what? All day, bro. I'm telling you right now, when it's time for me to sell this car, whether I sell it to one of my subscribers, one of y'all watching this, right? Trust and believe, I am downshifting from second gear to first gear every single day of my life. So just want to make sure y'all understand that you really have to have an eye and just patience at the end of the day with this, okay? Because this could be a really good car for you to buy and enjoy it and have it forever, or this is going to be a car that deadass ruins your life because you're spending $10,000 to $20,000 replacing the engine, replacing transmission, because you bought it from some chapito that is driving this, you know, worse than me, not taking care of it. At least I take care of this shit, you know what I'm saying? And I have the money to actually make sure that everything's on the up and up. So that's all I want to kind of mention. We're gonna summarize this all right now, just so you guys get the, you know, final picture. It's super clear. My opinion on should you or should you not buy an ISF. Is it for yours or not? You should buy an ISF in 2026 if you're gonna either buy this cash or you're gonna finance it with such a low amount that you're actually gonna be borrowing from the bank. Because again, the car hackability kind of goes away if you're gonna finance this at a high interest rate, because you're not even gonna be paying anything towards the car's principal. Number two, you should be buying this if you have patience to wait for the right one to come about, are able to travel to go find a good deal. And last but not least, if you're mechanically competent and are not scared to get your hands dirty during the buying process and ownership process, I would say this is you. Last thing I want to add is kind of a caveat. You should also buy this car if you are after just that raw mechanical V8 experience that this car kind of provides. This is not a car for comfort. This does not drive like an ES350. Sometimes I find myself wishing that it did, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't trade it for the world, and I definitely wouldn't trade it for no ES350. And that's pretty much all I want to say as far as should you buy this car or not in 2026. On the flip side, you should not buy this car, number one, if you're going to overly leverage yourself or push your budget, finance this with a crazy high-ass interest rate, or again, you're literally just able to buy the car and don't have any money left over. It's a really reliable car, but when you get into that higher mileage range, you just don't know what you don't know. When you don't know what you don't know, make sure you have some money saved, because your money is going to save you, especially if you're dealing with an old car. And the last pain point that I really have to mention to the people that probably shouldn't be buying this car is the fact that if you want a car reliable, anxiety-free, I don't know if this is going to be the one for you unless you buy it correctly. So that's why at the beginning I wanted to make sure you guys knew, yes, it's a good idea for most people as long as you buy it right. If you're not going to buy it right, you really might end up putting yourself in a bad position. So I mean, shit, it's 2026. Y'all can do what y'all want at the end of the day. I'm really just enjoying making these videos and kind of giving my thoughts on this car ownership and the journey that I kind of went through personally. But at the end of the day, I truly do believe 2026, as long as you buy this strategically and calculated, it's probably going to be one of the best cars that you ever own in your life, and damn near every single aspect. But if you're going to rush, not take your time and buy this out of emotion, it's a really good chance you're going to get got. And if you do, don't come back crying to me, because I already told your ass what you needed to do. If you just listened to Idris, everything would have been cool. But you know what I mean? To each their own. Who knows? I'm going to drop my email in the description of this video. So if you guys are actually considering an ISF and maybe want some help or my opinion or whatnot, just send it to the email that I'm about to drop. It's going to be my Realtor email, but don't disregard that. And actually, I'm not even a car salesman or nothing, but I don't know why I'm offering help for cars. If anything, I should be telling you how to buy a house from me. But obviously, you could do that too. I'm not going to stop you. Leave a comment down below what you guys want to see for my next video. Anyways, I got to go. I got a listing appointment to attend to. Like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.
I'm a traveling salesman.